On a quiet afternoon in Perth, the gentle hum of a running shower filled an otherwise silent home. A teenage son called out for his mother, expecting her familiar response, but was met with an unsettling stillness. What he discovered behind the bathroom door was beyond explanation, a scene that would unravel a chilling mystery. As investigators pieced together the events, a web of deception and betrayal emerged, painting a deeply disturbing picture. This is the story of Colleen Rebelo, a devoted mother whose life was tragically cut short. Let's dive deep into more details of this haunting case. To the outside world, Andre Rebelo's life in Perth was a vision of perfection. He lived in a sleek, contemporary home with his partner, Gracie Piscopo, and their young son, projecting an image of glamour and success. Their social media accounts were a curated showcase of a dreamlike existence filled with designer outfits, exotic destinations, and moments of apparent bliss. To their thousands of followers, they were the epitome of a modern power couple. Stylish, ambitious, and thriving in a world of luxury. But beneath the glossy surface of their online presence lay a far more intricate and troubled reality. Andre met Gracie in 2015, when he was just 19 years old. Born in 1996, he was a young man with dreams of his own. But he quickly fell under the spell of Gracie's charisma and determination. Gracie, who had once worked as a gym receptionist, had reinvented herself through social media. Her confidence, striking appearance, and knack for creating engaging content attracted a massive online following, transforming her into a prominent influencer. By her mid-20s, she was earning an estimated $170,000 annually, a sum that funded a lifestyle of high-end fashion, luxurious vacations, and stays in five-star hotels. Andre, initially a stranger to this world of influencers and brand deals, was pulled into its orbit, captivated by the allure of Gracie's rising star. Together, they traveled the world, meticulously documenting their adventures, shopping sprees in cosmopolitan cities, drives in luxury vehicles, and picturesque moments in breathtaking locales. Their followers saw a life of aspiration, a charismatic woman building a thriving career, her supportive partner by her side, and, later, a son who seemed to complete their perfect family portrait. They drove a gleaming white Range Rover, lived in a spacious modern home, and rarely appeared without radiant smiles. But as Gracie's fame skyrocketed, Andre's role remained largely behind the scenes, overshadowed by her growing spotlight. The demands of Gracie's career were immense. Managing brand partnerships, negotiating contracts, and handling the financial intricacies of her influencer business became a full-time job. Andre made a pivotal decision. He dropped out of university to dedicate himself to supporting Gracie's career. As her assistant, he took on the grunt work vetting sponsorship offers, coordinating campaigns, and managing her financial portfolio. Despite the significant responsibilities, his income was a modest $20,000 a year, a stark contrast to Gracie's earnings. In their carefully crafted online presence, Gracie was the undeniable centerpiece. While Andre's contributions were less visible, confined to the logistics that kept her brand running smoothly. The birth of their son added a new dimension to their public image. The child became a frequent feature in their posts, opening the door to lucrative parenting endorsements. From baby products to family-oriented lifestyle brands, their content expanded to capitalize on their growing family. Hours were spent daily curating, filming, and editing posts to maintain their polished digital brand. Yet, despite their outward success, Andre yearned for something of his own adventure that would allow him to step out of Gracie's shadow and achieve the kind of recognition she enjoyed. He turned his attention to cryptocurrency, a burgeoning field he saw as a pathway to financial independence and success. Unlike the curated world of social media, crypto offered a frontier where he could build something tangible. Andre was optimistic, often reassuring Gracie that their investments would yield significant returns, even if the results were not immediate. He spoke confidently about the potential for their wealth to grow, envisioning a future where he could match or even surpass Gracie's achievements. However, not everyone shared his enthusiasm, and one person in particular harbored deep concerns about the direction Andre's life was taking. Colleen Rebelo, Andre's mother, watched her son's choices with growing unease. A dedicated mother of three sons, Andre, Fabian and Julian, and a daughter, Monique. Colleen valued education, stability, and long-term security. She had always envisioned her children pursuing careers built on solid foundations, such as medicine, law, or academia. Andre's decision to abandon his university studies to manage Gracie's influencer business was a source of deep concern. To Colleen, the world of social media was precarious, a realm where success relied on fleeting trends, youthful appeal, and the whims of online audiences. She feared that the glamour of Gracie's career was a fragile foundation, one that could crumble with time or changing algorithms. Colleen confided her worries to a close friend, expressing her fear that Andre was sacrificing his future for short-term gains. She saw the influencer lifestyle as a gamble, one that might not sustain him in the long run. Despite her reservations, Colleen remained a supportive mother, never withdrawing her love or encouragement. After her divorce in 2010, she had raised her 4 children as a single parent while working as a teacher, a role that demanded resilience and sacrifice. Through financial and emotional challenges, she provided her family with structure, values, and unwavering affection. In her late 50s, Colleen decided to pursue a dream of her own. She returned to school, earning a degree in healthcare in 2020 at the age of 58. The achievement filled her with pride and optimism as she prepared to embark on a new career, one that promised fulfillment and purpose. She was vibrant, forward-looking, and excited about the possibilities ahead. But on May 25, 2020, her hopeful future was abruptly extinguished. The morning of May 25, 2020, began like any other in the Rebelo household. Colleen shared her home with her youngest son, Fabian, who was still in his teens, and worked part-time at a nearby supermarket. Her daughter, Monique, was temporarily staying with her while completing paramedic training, as Colleen's home was conveniently close to the training facility. That morning, Colleen spoke with both Fabian and Monique, her demeanor as warm and attentive as ever. There were no signs of distress, no indications of health concerns, and no hints that anything was amiss. Fabian relied on his mother to drive him to work at 10 a.m. and pick him up at 2 p.m. when his shift ended. But that afternoon, when Fabian clocked out, Colleen was nowhere to be found. He called her phone repeatedly 13 times in total, but received no answer. The silence was jarring. Colleen was known for her punctuality and reliability, always checking in with her children. Though their home was only a 10 to 15-minute walk from the supermarket, Fabian's unease grew. Colleen had minor health issues, including a manageable heart condition and Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but nothing that suggested a serious risk. Still, his instincts told him something was wrong. When Fabian arrived home, the house was eerily quiet except for the sound of the shower running. The noise offered a flicker of relief. Perhaps Colleen had simply lost track of time. He called out to her, expecting a response, but the silence persisted. Growing anxious, he called her name again. Still nothing. Reluctantly, Fabian approached the bathroom door, hesitant to invade his mother's privacy, but driven by a sinking feeling. When he pushed the door open, the sight before him was devastating. Colleen was in the shower, not standing or washing, but kneeling motionless against the tiled wall. Her body slumped in an unnatural position. Panic surged through Fabian. He dragged his mother's body to the center of the bathroom floor, quickly covering her with a towel to preserve her dignity. With trembling hands, he dialed emergency services and began performing CPR, desperately trying to revive her. As he did, he noticed disturbing details. Her skin was cold to the touch, despite the warm shower water, and her face and neck bore a bluish-gray discoloration that alarmed him. When paramedics arrived, they took over, but their efforts were in vain. Colleen Rebelo was pronounced dead. Fabian immediately contacted his sister Monique, urging her to return home as quickly as possible. His panic was palpable and he needed family by his side. He also tried reaching his older brother Andre, but received no response. It wasn't until Monique arrived around 3 p.m. and began calling and texting Andre herself that he finally appeared, accompanied by Gracie and their young son. The atmosphere in the house was heavy with disbelief and grief. Just hours earlier, Colleen had been her usual self, engaged, caring, and present. Now, she was gone, leaving her family in shock. An autopsy was conducted, but it offered no clear answers. The cause of Colleen's death remained undetermined, deepening the family's confusion and pain. To her children, The idea that their healthy, active mother had died of natural causes seemed unthinkable. As they grappled with their loss, they couldn't ignore the strange details surrounding her death. Colleen had always been meticulous about her routines. She never showered with her gold wristwatch or jewelry. Yet both were still on her body when Fabian found her. Similarly, the anti-slip mat she religiously placed in the tub was found draped over the side, unused. These were not minor oversights but ingrained habits, known intimately by those closest to her. Their absence raised questions that gnawed at the family. The police investigation initially found no evidence of foul play. There were no signs of forced entry, no missing valuables, and no obvious indications of a struggle. With no clear cause of death, authorities tentatively concluded that Colleen had died of natural causes. The family, heartbroken and dissatisfied, was left with more questions than answers. But a few weeks later, a shocking development would turn their grief into suspicion. Out of the blue, police were contacted by an insurance company investigating potential fraud. Their inquiry pointed to Rebelo, Colleen's son. What they uncovered was staggering. Just 1 week before Colleen's death, Andre had taken out 3 life insurance policies in her name, totaling over $1 million, with himself listed as the sole beneficiary. None of his siblings, Monique, Fabian, or Julian, were included. Within days of his mother's passing, Andre had contacted the insurance companies, attempting to claim the payouts. 2 of the companies immediately flagged the claims as suspicious. Citing the short time between the policy's activation and Colleen's death, they rejected the requests outright. The 3rd company was still reviewing the claim, but demanded additional documentation. As investigators examined the paperwork, Andre submitted inconsistencies piled up. One document listed Colleen's date of birth incorrectly, using Andre's own birth date instead. Medical records he provided falsely claimed Colleen had died of a ruptured aneurysm causing a subarachnoid hemorrhage, a cause that directly contradicted the autopsy's inconclusive findings. Even more troubling was a will, allegedly signed by Colleen, that named Andre as the sole heir to her estate. It made no mention of her other 3 children, a stark departure from Colleen's known character. She had always been fair and equitable, ensuring her love and resources were shared equally among her children. The will appeared to be a forgery, and further investigation revealed additional fabrications. Andre had submitted falsified psychiatric evaluations to bolster the will's legitimacy. In a particularly audacious move, he had used artificial intelligence to generate a voice recording, designed to sound unlike his own, to validate the fraudulent documents. When confronted, Andre claimed that Colleen had been fully aware of the insurance policies and the will. He insisted they were part of a long-term financial strategy to secure the family's future, with him tasked to distribute the funds evenly among his siblings, but the police were skeptical. The forged documents, the suspicious timing of the policies, and the inconsistencies in Andre's story cast serious doubt on his claims. To Colleen's other children, the revelations were a gut-wrenching betrayal. They had not only lost their mother, but now faced the possibility that their own brother was involved in something sinister. The family's grief was compounded by disbelief. Why would Colleen, who had always treated her children equally, name only Andre in her will? Why exclude Monique, Fabian, and Julian, the eldest, who was often seen as the family's anchor? Julian moved into Colleen's home to sort through her affairs, a painful task made heavier by the growing suspicions. As he searched for essential documents, Colleen's driver's license, financial records, and other personal papers, he discovered they were missing. When questioned, Andre admitted to taking them, claiming it was to manage the inheritance process. But his actions raised more red flags. He had also redirected all of Colleen's mail to his own address. Despite Fabienne and Monique still living in her home, the decision seemed deliberate, as if he were trying to control access to critical information. As questions about Colleen's death mounted, so did suspicions about Andre's motives. Could he have orchestrated his own mother's death for financial gain? Police expanded their investigation, re-interviewing family members, including Gracie, and others close to the Rebelos. A critical piece of information came from Colleen's sister, who recalled seeing an unfamiliar car parked in Colleen's driveway around 1:30 p.m. on the day of her death. She hadn't thought much of it at the time, but at Colleen's funeral, she saw the same vehicle again, this time with Andre and Gracie inside. The sighting was significant. Andre had not mentioned visiting his mother that day. When pressed, Andre admitted to being at Colleen's home that morning, staying for about 45 to 50 minutes. He claimed she had been in low spirits, anxious about aging and even questioning whether life was worth living. He used this narrative to justify the insurance policies, suggesting Colleen had asked him to secure the family's financial future. But his story was contradicted by Gracie's account. She recalled that on the morning of May 25th, she and her cousin were preparing for a lunch outing when she realized Andre was gone. He hadn't told her he was leaving. She couldn't reach him despite calling 12 times, as confirmed by her phone records. Frustrated, she texted him, but he didn't respond until he returned home around 2 p.m., acting as if nothing was unusual. Before leaving for lunch, Andre had sent a text to Colleen, asking if she could watch their son later that evening, a detail that seemed chilling in hindsight, given what unfolded. With suspicions mounting, police obtained court approval to conduct covert surveillance in Andre and Gracie's home. They installed a listening device in their bedroom and a camera in their living room, monitoring their conversations over 3 months. The recordings revealed Gracie's shock and fury when she learned about the insurance policies. She confronted Andre, worried that the scandal could destroy her career, sponsorships, and brand deals. The lifeblood of her influencer business could vanish if she were linked to such a controversy. One heated exchange, she warned Andre that if he had harmed his mother and the truth emerged, he would face prison. Andre, however, appeared unfazed, confidently discussing plans to leave the country once the insurance money was secured. The investigation also exposed the stark contrast between the couple's public image and their private reality. Their social media portrayed a life of wealth, designer clothing, lavish trips, a sleek Range Rover, and a stunning home. But financial records told a different story. The house was rented for $880 a week, not owned. The car was financed, with payments in arrears. Many of their vacations were sponsored, not paid for out of pocket. In truth, Andre and Gracie were drowning in debt, owing $120,000, including unpaid rent, car payments, and a $40,000 tax bill that Gracie was unaware of. As Andre had been managing their finances, his cryptocurrency investments, which he had hyped as their financial salvation, had yielded a paltry $22 after 3 years. Desperate to maintain the illusion of success and escape their mounting debts, Andre had seen the insurance policies as a way out. By securing over $1 million in coverage on his mother's life, with himself as the sole beneficiary, he stood to eliminate their financial burdens and perhaps even claim credit for a successful crypto venture. The plan, however, hinged on a dark and unthinkable act. In November 2022, Andre Rebelo was arrested and charged with the murder of his mother. His trial began nearly 2 years later in October 2024 and spanned 8 grueling weeks. The prosecution faced a challenge. There was no definitive physical evidence linking Andre to the crime, and Colleen's cause of death remained undetermined. However, expert witnesses testified that suffocation could occur without leaving visible marks, and minor abrasions found on Colleen's arms and eyebrows suggested a possible struggle or restraint. One theory posited that a pillow could have been used to smother her, though this could not be confirmed. The case against Andre rested heavily on circumstantial evidence. His aunt's sighting of his car at Colleen's house at 1:30 p.m. contradicted his claim that he had left earlier. His failure to answer Gracie's 12 calls during that time was unusual, as was his casual demeanor upon returning home. Investigators also discovered that after July 2020, Andre had wiped his computer clean, leaving no browser history or records, a move that suggested he was hiding something. The forged documents, including the fake will, falsified medical records, altered psychiatric evaluations, and a generated voice recording pointed to a calculated effort to cover his tracks. Andre maintained his innocence throughout the trial, sticking to his story that Colleen had approved the insurance policies and will as part of a family financial plan. But the evidence painted a different picture. A young man desperate to escape financial ruin, willing to betray his own family for $1 million payout? On December 5, 2024, after 2 days of deliberation, the jury delivered a unanimous verdict: guilty of murder. Andre Rebelo, once a key figure in crafting a digital empire alongside Gracie, now faces a future stripped of the filters and facades that defined his life. the man who lived for likes, followers, and the illusion of success is now confined to a reality far removed from the curated images he once shared. For Colleen's other children, Julie and Monique, and Fabian, the pain of losing their mother is compounded by the betrayal of a brother they once trusted. Colleen Rebelo, a woman who poured love and sacrifice into her family, deserved a future filled with the promise of her new career. Instead, her story ended in tragedy, a cautionary tale of ambition, deception, and the devastating cost of chasing an illusion. Thank you for watching The Crime Decoder. If Colleen's story moved you, subscribe and hit the bell icon.